Well, hello out there, planet Earth, and happy Friday. I got a big weekend of softball ahead of me. I'm excited. My team's looking for a championship. My kids' team is on the field. I get to coach. But until then, it's Friday, and it's always Friday with me, Stephen Fry, your SMB guy. ICYMI, or in case you missed it, SMB stands for Small and Medium-Sized Business. For the last 20 years, I've been a consultant for SMBs, a voice and a sounding board for business leaders, advocating on their behalf wherever I can, their employees as well. I believe very strongly, everybody, in sharing stories, providing perspective, and creating connection. So on Fridays, you can find me right here on talkradio.nyc doing just that, lending what's left of my mind and my voice to this radio show, where I interview our SMB leaders and their trusted advisors. One consistent thing I've seen over the years, people, some of the best thought leadership that we encounter for SMBs, it actually happens on Friday, right about the time we feel the freedom of the weekend coming. However, we're also anxious to start the weekend. These crucial pearls of wisdom, they're overlooked, they're forgotten, they're eased aside in favor of our fun activities and our freedom from work. Here on the show, we take advantage of that weekend freedom and clarity, and we like to discuss popular topics that are on the minds of business leaders and the folks who steer them in the right direction. That's the name of the game. The name of the show, by the way, not just a play on words. My last name means free in German, so there is a little bit of method behind the madness here, just so you people know. I'll start out with the unpleasantness first. My best friend's younger brother unexpectedly passed away 2 weeks ago at age 40. I was always planning to take some time off during the summer, and I missed you guys. I was not planning to take the last 2 weeks off. That was somewhat unexpected, but my heart goes out to the Grivat's family, and my buddy Jeremy, again, passed away 2 weeks ago at age 40. On to the positive stuff. My mother-in-law's 70th birthday is actually today, so I've been surrounded by a lot of family and friends as of late. Tonight is going to be no different. We're going out to dinner, but again, the thing I'm most excited about this weekend is playing some softball and coaching my daughter's softball team. And since we're talking a little bit about, the sports that I like to play, I thought it would be a good time to talk with somebody who is a big sports enthusiast and how sports management and looking at things through the team type of approach can really be effective for small, medium-sized businesses. So again, we're going to be speaking with somebody today who's got a master's in sports management from Columbia University. The type of work that he does in the world of being a strategic consultant, not only bolsters folks who are looking to really make a splash in the world of sports, but also gives some great method behind the madness for people just looking to run a small, medium-sized business anyway. Again, there's no I in team. I'm sure my special guest today can attest to that. Talk is cheap. We're on talkradio.nyc. We don't want this to just be talk. The goal here, everybody, let's use the insight on the SMB landscape and create some impact on Monday morning. It is far too often that the businesses I've worked with and visited with over the years, they're focused on some type of product, some shiny new mousetrap, some new technology, some app that's going to solve all their problems and change their lives. One other consistent thing I've seen out there, products change every single day in everything that we do, whether you're talking about your personal life or your business life. There is no substitute for having the right people around you that you can consult with, that you can strategize with, that you can befriend, and focus on a process together that's going to help you achieve your goal. As long as you do that, the right products will be there when you need them, everybody. The world is not solved by magic wands, even though you'd like it to be. Everything begins and ends with the people. So in the spirit of surrounding yourself with the right people and creating some of that magic today, great show for you. We are speaking with my buddy, Chris Orlando, strategic consultant, sports enthusiast, and change catalyst. Chris is a passionate and results-driven strategic consultant known for providing exceptional value to everyone he encounters. With a strong educational foundation and a career filled with transformative achievements, he's consistently demonstrated the ability to drive change and create impact in various fields of work. Chris holds a master's degree, as I had mentioned, in sports management from Columbia University, which has equipped him with a deep understanding of the sports industry and its dynamics. This knowledge has been instrumental in the ability to help business owners change and leverage Chris's existing relationships for lasting experiences that can help drive ongoing value for their business model. Some of Chris's career highlights: Elite Sports India, my bad. As a driving force behind Elite Sports India, Chris played a pivotal role in reshaping the sports landscape in India. Through innovative strategies and dedication to excellence, Chris and ESI are commercializing university sports and bringing about positive changes that have had a lasting impact in the region. He's also been working with an organization called AthLogic. He's had the privilege of leading the go-to-market strategy for AthLogic, a company that has its solution present in over 4,000 high schools around the country these days. He has provided strategic insights and execution and helped AthLogic become a prominent player in the educational and sports industry while enriching the lives of countless students. In addition to that, he is also worked a significant amount with the NFL Alumni Association. He's lent his expertise, assisting them in raising funds for their valuable initiatives. His contributions here have gone to the association's mission of making a difference in the lives of NFL alumni and the communities they serve. I personally am looking forward to playing some golf with the organization next week, as long as it doesn't rain for a day or two. I know that's asking a lot these days. Chris has extensive experience in the financial services industry. He's founded his own company, Elite Advisor Consulting, which has provided advisory services to financial advisors and broker-dealers. Additionally, he's held various roles in business development and sales at United Advisors, Platinum Innovative Distributors, YPD Marketing, Jackson National Life, ING, and Planco. Deep breath. Premier RX, this is Chris's most recent project, involves standing at the helm of a company where he leads the go-to-market strategy. This role allows Chris to continue leveraging his strategic network and prowess for his business owners to lower their prescription costs, which is always a big topic of conversation, health insurance and prescriptions on a lot of SMB owners' minds. And if it helps them free up some money to spend on marketing and some other sports properties he represents, as far as donations for good causes, it's great. Chris is looking to connect with folks who are like-minded individuals, whether it's to discuss new exciting opportunities or just share insights from his journey in sports management and strategic consulting. We're going to connect you guys with Chris to explore how to collaborate for mutual success. He's awesome, especially if you're looking to kick around some strategic initiatives during happy hour. If you have an SMB, you do want him in your corner. He is joining us today from the campus of Columbia University, where he received his master's in sports management. We'll get to my favorite questions around movies, TV, and music. Chris, welcome to Always Friday, brother. Great to have you hang with me. You do have to unmute, though. Study show, I can't hear you when you're on mute.
There you go. First day of technology, my friend. So I appreciate the opportunity being on here. I figure for a live radio show, it would help if I was unmuted. So I appreciate the time, my friend.
Absolutely. Chris, I know you're a sports guy. I have a big weekend of softball ahead of me. I know that you're you seem like you're very, very into the NFL. I see it emanating from everywhere you go. I'm a big golf and softball guy, so I couldn't think of a better time to be chatting with you as I'm gearing up for a big softball weekend. But let's talk about you. It's time to share your travels with the audience. Let's hear about your journey. Tell us a little bit about how you got where you are today.
I appreciate that, my friend. As you mentioned, a big sports fan. I grew up outside of Philadelphia. So I bleed all things Philly, Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, Flyers, the Union, you name it. Even go a little Philadelphia Wings back in the day. So any Philadelphia sports team I've got an allegiance to. I was not athletically talented enough to play at the professional level. I did play some D3 football myself, so I've got a pretty good understanding of the landscape of college sports. And again, knowing that I was not talented enough to take it to the next level, I figured while I was in school, I needed to get the education and figure out what I was going to do for the rest of my life, and had an opportunity to work in the financial world. So while I was in college, I did an internship for the Hartford and really had every aspect of what that business did over the 4 years. So it gave me a tremendous foundation. I ended up graduating. I started wholesaling for the Hartford for their mutual funds and annuities. And then ING started making a presence in the U.S. and they posted up outside of Philadelphia and went to all the Hartford employees, said, hey, if you like what you're doing, come work for us. We'll pay you twice the amount of money. I was a math major and a statistics minor in college, so those numbers made sense to me. Made that shift on over to ING, and then had an opportunity actually to move out to California with Jackson National. So I did a stint. Again, I am a fan of warm weather, so Southern California was my calling for years. So I had an opportunity to move out to sunny Southern California. Jackson at the time wasn't the best company. It's definitely not the stellar company that they are today. And working with one of my advisors, which I'll touch base a little later, And he kind of opened my eyes up to what about starting up your own business. So I had been in the corporate side. I had wholesaled for some major players, and had an opportunity to kind of launch my own company, which I took full force on it and jumped in there, jumped into the deep end. And in our heyday, we probably had, with my wholesale distribution company, I want to say we had probably about 50 wholesalers working for us, covering the country, independent broker dealers, life insurance agents, RIAs, and banks. Then 08, 09 happened. I lost the top 16 products I was distributing. So I had a distribution company without product to distribute. It's not a good business model, Mr. Fry.
Doesn't sound like it, bro.
It was not. So I ended up getting away from the product side and really focusing more on consulting. So it was really kind of helping advisors understand technology, marketing, prospecting, how are they kind of running their business as a business, and let them kind of plug in the different products that they wanted to plug in. Didn't matter to me that way. So I would travel the country and would do seminars on succession planning for financial advisors. They do a great job of helping you get to retirement. They do a horrible job of getting themselves to retirement. And as I was traveling around the country and delivering these succession planning seminars, every advisor that I talked to would come to me and say, hey, listen, all of my clients are small and mid-sized business owners. They struggle with these same types of things. Can you not only talk to me, but can you now talk to my clients as well? So I branched away from the financial services world, and I started doing succession planning for all kinds of different opportunities. One gentleman that I did some work with started Aqua Hydrate. It's a water company. I helped him get some liquidity. And I said, hey, tell me your next venture. Let me understand where you're going. And he had asked me, he's like, what do you think about football in India?
Wait, you helped get some liquidity for Aqua Hydrate? I think I smell a joke there somewhere.
Absolutely. So he was asking me what I thought about India, and that was really my entree into sports. And again, I started doing my homework, did my due diligence, and then started again as a consultant, putting those different pieces of the puzzle together. So I would spend half my days talking about sports in India. Then the other half of my days, I was talking to financial advisors about compliance and technology.
Mm-hmm.
You see which conversation was a little bit more exciting. So I started picking up more sports management type clients. I ended up doing some work with NFL alumni, as you had mentioned. And again, I understood business. I understood sport. I didn't know what I didn't know of the business of sport. So I went back to Columbia to get my education in sports management, got my master's degree there. And it was really twofold. Number one, to fill in those gaps of what I didn't know, but more importantly, to get dialed into Columbia's network, which has been ridiculous and has opened up tremendous amounts of doors for me. And then with that, like I said, I've started picking up additional sporting clients. So we've got Athlogic, where we touch just about every high school across the country. My stuff in India, the NFL alumni, and then like I said, Premier RX is going to kind of tie all the stuff together. So that's kind of a roundabout way of my thing. I know we're jumping into a break, so I can kind of touch base on some of the other stuff in a little bit.
Yeah, we definitely will. The concept of working with the financial professionals and then translating that to their clients resonates very deeply with me. And back to the sports side of things as well. You know, very often a financial advisor is basically a solo practitioner business owner, right? They look at it as, this is my business, it's my game, it's my book, and me, everything all about me, right? And then they talk to you about their business owners that need it. Very similar. They run their businesses, and even if they have employees, it's me, all about me, where a lot of the magic tends to happen when it's a we mentality, not a me mentality. There's no I in team, but it's, again, like even if you're the founder and the big kahuna of a business, most folks can't do it alone, whether they're a solo practitioner that plugs into a strategic referral partner network in a lot of ways like you have, or they have a staff of people that they need to be really collaborative with. It's a team effort, kind of no matter what. And that's why I know you and I've spoken about this in the past, but my daughters are crazy into dance. They to date haven't really been into sports, although my older daughter's taken up softball, which warms my heart so much I can't even tell you. But it's almost like I wish that they would play more sports just so they can get a little bit more of the team vibe and what it's like. You can't win a baseball game, a softball game, if you have one person on the field. It just doesn't work that way.
100%. I've always said, and we kind of talked about this off air, of that I think every little kid should play an organized sport.
Yep.
Even if you're the worst athlete in the world, being a part of something, understanding how to kind of come together, different people, different backgrounds, working towards a common goal. And figuring out how to get there. And then, like I said, the life lessons that you learn. It's funny, I got back into the sports world after 20 some odd years in the financial services world. And the relationships and the connections that you make from sport. I look at the contacts that I have now. Everyone's like, oh, how are you going to make that transition from the financial world to the sports world?
Piece of cake.
It's mind-boggling now that I've kind of looked at the people that I've met throughout the course of my career, throughout the course of my life, and some of the relationships that I've been able to develop. It's mind-boggling to me. Again, playing football in college, all of those guys that have gone on to either be coaches at the high school level, college level, professional level, or have some sort of tie to a business that they're running. So just being able to get back into that network and say, hey, I've got a lot of resources that can help you. Let's have a conversation.
We absolutely have to take a break. I could do this all day with you. You know I can. We'll be right back with Chris Orlando, strategic consultant, sports enthusiast, and change catalyst. Stay with us.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mara Broncu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fridays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
What really drives success in business? Introducing Intangify, the show that explores the intangible assets that create value and growth. I'm Matthew Asbell, your host and an attorney focused on innovation. Join me Fridays at noon Eastern to discover how innovation, culture, and other intangibles shape thriving companies from startups to established businesses. We'll share strategies to unleash your business's true potential. Tune in live on talkradio.nyc Fridays at noon Eastern and Intangify your business today.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday. It's always Friday. And it's me, Stephen Fry, your SMB guy. We are chatting with Chris Orlando, strategic consultant, sports enthusiast, change catalyst. He's coming to us live from his alma mater for his master's in sports education at Columbia University. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, you're going to be teaching a course upcoming spring with Len Elmore, an alumni from my alma mater.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things that when I finished with the program, I wanted to stay involved in it. Again, education to me is the key to life. But more importantly, like I said, it's the relationships and the connections that you can make. So we teach a leadership and sports management class.
That's awesome. Anytime we can get some representation for University of Maryland at College Park, you know, I'm very happy about that. But before we dive into the method behind your madness, which I'm very excited to chat about with everybody, I do like to sit out by my fire pit if you'll indulge me for a moment. It's a little rainy again today, which hope it dries up for the weekend. But the idea of looking kind of backwards at the historical work that's been done, even with sports teams, right? If you look at the playbook for a football team from 30 years ago, it might not be as applicable today for different moves that people are doing. Like, that's why there's coaches and there's managers of sports teams that stay engaged during all the games and continuously into the future. There almost by definition has to be a forward-looking type of thing. And yet when you speak to business owners and you speak to financial advisors who need kind of a little bit of shift in mindset for their own retirement, like you were saying, they very much are looking at the past. And a lot of times it leads to the cobbler's kid shoes always being worn. But I saw this picture out there regarding the AthLogic platform that you're working with, and it looks like an old school, like kind of advertisement that says "Stop playing in the past." And it looks like it's meant to, you guys with AthLogic, you have a technology platform that's now in 4,000 high schools around the country, and to me, it's almost like a good testament to, you learn stuff from the past. You guys have been playing football a long time, but don't be afraid to take certain steps of managing the team, coaching the team, and identifying and relating to the team into the future, because that's how growth happens, whether you're a business or you're a team. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. And it's funny. I mean, in sports, they've been trying to get a competitive advantage since the beginning of time. As a small, mid-sized business owner, you are looking to get a competitive advantage at any point that you can.
Yes, sir.
So how do you kind of figure out, how do I get the, it's always the choice of, do I make a decision? Do I not make a decision? If you don't make a decision, that's going to have an impact on you. Not making a decision is a decision.
It's a decision, 100%. And that's
100%.
Something that drives me crazy, especially when I'm consulting with small, medium-sized business owners. It's like, that type of non-decision making power, you're making a decision to not make a decision, which can have a really negative effect very often.
100%. And it's going to come back to bite you on the backside. And again, even if you make the wrong decision, you're still moving forward. And then once you've made the wrong decision, now you need to adapt and figure out what do you have to do to correct the course and get back on the path. But again, continue to make those decisions. Even if you're wrong, it's okay.
I heard it from multiple places, but I distinctly remember it from The Sopranos. More is lost by indecision than wrong decision, and I'm 100% there. Like that I couldn't identify more with that. By the way, while we're talking about reflecting back on some legendary TV, when I saw Stop Playing in the Past, all I could think of was Al Bundy and touchdowns at Polk High. But for those of us that were around during the Married with Children time and catch it on reruns, that's exactly what I was thinking the whole time. Anyway, back to brass tacks here.
If you don't catch it on the back end, if you don't catch that reference, go to any sports bar and you will have a million Al Bundys telling you exactly how good they were in high school. I'm probably doing that myself.
Well, absolutely, dude. So, Chris, this is the method part of the show. This is where we like to talk about the science behind what you do. So the method behind your madness, if you will, think about it as, what do you do? How do you do it? And how exactly do you go to market for it? And I know some of your marketing strategies might change a little bit depending on who you're doing some consulting for, but lay it on us, man. Give us a little bit of the method behind the madness. We want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, at the end of the day, I think that in business, in life, in relationships, in everything that we do, we're at point A, we're trying to get to point B.
Yes.
Problem is, most people have no idea what that point B looks like in a business, in a relationship, or what have you. I'm a huge believer in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yes.
Begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
I can understand what your end goal is, what you're trying to do at a business and a relationship, or whatever you're trying to do. What is that end goal? Once we crystallize that, then all we have to do is move backwards and figure out what moves do we have to make in order to get there. And then that kind of goes into the how part of it, right? So think about that. Now that I've crystallized my vision of where I'm trying to go, what my end goal is, now how do I get there? So now think about every decision that you have to make. Does it put you closer to your goal or further away from your goal? If it's putting you closer to your goal, do with all your vigor, go out there and crush it.
Yep.
If it's putting you further away from your goal, have a real conversation with yourself. Do I have the right goal in mind? If I'm still steadfast on, I know where I'm going and this is the right decision. If this decision that I make is putting me further away from that goal, why would I do that? It makes zero sense to me.
I want to go back to some of your experience with financial services, talking about that, because I've done some wholesaler work as well. I know you've been a wholesaler, and like that whole mentality is making the other person, like the financial professional, look like the smartest person in the room, not for you to be the smartest person in the room, right? So it's something that these types of folks consistently struggle with, right? Is really like collaborating and making it not so much about them. And when you ask them even what they do, it's, I work with high net worth individuals. I evaluate the market and help make sure you don't run out of money at retirement. And a lot of times I would explain it to your point, exactly as you just said, as I help clients figure out where they are, where they'd like to go. And then I work together with them to plot the best possible course to get there. It's simple.
Yeah. Again, life is not that hard. We overcomplicate.
Yes.
100%. At the end of the day, it's kind of like you talked about earlier with the Sopranos reference. It's the fear of making a decision is usually far worse than the actual outcome of making that decision. So if you can get out of your own way, life's really not that hard.
I mean, even going back to the finance type of talk for a moment, it's when people make decisions based out of fear, a lot of times it leads to the wrong results, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and I can't think of many things that are more fearful that people try to make decisions about than how they manage their money and what they invest in and all that. But when you make those decisions based on fear, you're afraid you're going to be part of a market downturn. You're afraid that you're not going to have liquidity when you need it. Like all of that, those types of things, like they might lead to the wrong decisions if that's how you're looking at it.
Well, and I understand, I'm a huge believer. If you put it out in the universe, it will happen. So if you put negative thoughts out in the universe, you're going to attract negative thoughts. If you put positive thoughts out in the universe, you're going to attract positive thoughts. It's that mindset of, I can't change what's happening around me. I can only change how I'm responding to it. So take out all the BS, figure out what's going on. What do I have to do? Does it put me closer to my goal or further away from my goal? All the other stuff is nonsense and noise.
You know, and a lot of times, and maybe you've experienced this at for some of your initiatives along the way too. I don't always take my own medicine. I know in my heart of hearts that a job done today at a B or a C level is better than a job done tomorrow at an A level. I know that, and yet a lot of things that I want to get going and throw out there to the universe, mostly positive. I don't like throwing negativity out to the universe. It's like, but I don't get there. And I know it's something that's on my mind all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. But again, that's part of life. You kind of have to get through all the BS and figure out what's most important and kind of prioritize what you're doing. I mean, again, if you think about a business owner, they can't do all the things that they have to do. It's physically impossible. Oh. So they have to kind of prioritize what's the most important. What can I delegate? What can I partner with someone on? How can I kind of get these different pieces of the puzzle to come together?
And again, something we've discussed a whole bunch on the show when you talk about succession planning and business valuation and all that. It almost blows my mind that a lot of small, medium-sized business owners don't understand that their business inherently carries more value if they can step away from it. And it's not completely dependent on them, because that's somebody who comes in who's looking to be a succession plan or buy the business. That's exactly what they're looking for. We've met in networking scenarios before, like going back like 6-7 years ago, I think it was. And like those, again, like I look at these folks who are trying to build up their kind of capital as being a small, medium-sized business owner, and they almost can't divest themselves away from it. A good question when you're in a networking setting is, what defines success? What's the definition of a good business for you? And anytime I think of that, I think of, can I leave the business alone for a month and go travel Australia? And when I come back, not only have I not missed a beat, I've increased my revenue. That feels like success to me.
100%. And if you're the flip side of, I go to Australia for a month and my business goes to crap, who would want to buy that business? Again, if you think about, you're most valuable when you're not needed.
Yes.
So
yes.
If you can figure out a way of pulling yourself out of the minutia of all the stuff that you're doing, your business becomes exponentially more valuable. Because if you are the person that is Chris Orlando of Chris Orlando Enterprises, I'm the CEO, I do everything. If I leave, all that stuff goes away. I have no business.
Absolutely. We got to take a quick break, Chris. We'll be right back, everybody, with Chris Orlando, strategic consultant, sports enthusiast, and change catalyst. Stay with us.
Are you passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantle Racism Show. which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will be frank about health to advocate for all of us.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to Always Friday with me, Stephen Fry, your SMB guy. We are chatting with Chris Orlando. He's the man, strategic consultant, sports enthusiast, and change catalyst. Chris and I were kind of bordering on the line of getting into the madness part of the show when we were wrapping up the last segment. You know, talking a little bit about some of these business owners and how they tend to make everything about them, and if they leave the business for a month, everything goes to hell. You know, versus folks who can really build the appropriate team around them and have some scalability, and leave the office for a month and they've done nothing but improve their world while they're away. Some good stuff. Chris, this is the madness part of the show. This is the artistic observational part of what you do. So we want to hear some stories from the field that you've got. No subject to taboo. Anything goes. If you don't want to compromise certain client confidentiality because of sensitive issues, we understand that. You don't have to do that by any means. But I'd like to kick things off with, once again, talking a little bit about the sports that I dig and like to make analogies about. I love golf and softball. So coming up next week, you have on Thursday, October 12th, I believe it is, the NFL alumni golf outing. And this organization you've done a whole bunch of work for, caring for the folks who have retired from the NFL and caring for kids and moving forward with their lives after retirement. But I love to play golf about twice a week is where I try to get to during the season. And because of all the freaking rain we've had, I haven't been on the course in like a month and a half. So I hope you're not offended if I completely tear up this tournament, but I'm guaranteed to have a good time. So tell us a little bit about this.
It's guaranteed to have a good time. And I've got a bunch of clients that say this is the most fun event that we do all year long. They mark it out on their calendar. Magnus and McKenty are a couple guys, that will put this on their calendar months in advance just to make sure. And again, have no fear. I'm going to hack it up. I am the worst golfer in the world. Somewhere in the backswing, meathead Chris takes over, and I just try to kill that little thing. And apparently, you're not supposed to do that. So it's very much a mental aspect. But for the NFL alumni, I've worked with those guys for a bunch of years. They raise a lot of money for some great causes. But for me, the value that it brings. So think about if you're a small or mid-sized business owner. I used to do this with the financial advisors. And like I said, so we'll take a client out golfing or what have you, or we'll take them to dinner. We'll take them to a baseball game. Yeah, it's cool. You get to bond with that person and you have a different type of experience. But what if you had an opportunity to, instead of taking your client on a round of golf, take your client on a round of golf where he gets to play with a former NFL player. And then afterwards, they kind of sit around, have dinner and drinks afterwards and listen to all these guys kind of tell the stories. That relationship, that impact that you have with your client becomes that much more valuable because I'll give you a scenario. So I was at an event and Jim Gaffigan, the comedian, was speaking. So everyone's like, oh, this is pretty cool. Gaffigan's up here. He's doing. So he starts out his set. And like 5 minutes into it, he goes, hey, listen, I've got a buddy in town. He's trying to work on some material. He's thinking about coming up. Normally I wouldn't do this, but you guys mind it if I let him come up and work on a few things? We're all sitting in the audience like, okay, sure. In walks Jerry Seinfeld. Seinfeld
Really?
gets up and does a 45-minute set. So think about the relationships of all those business owners that brought clients with them because said, hey, I've got this pretty cool event I want you to come to. But think about now, the rest of their lives. They're talking about, oh, remember that time we went to that event and Seinfeld got up and did his thing? Those are the type of opportunities that if you're a small business owner to, again, if you want to do something with the NFL, it's millions of dollars. But if you want to do something with the alumni, it's a couple of $1,000s and you've got access to all of these people. So it's, again, looking for that way of finding your competitive advantage as a business owner. What can I do that's going to separate me from the other person that's doing whatever widgets that they're doing?
I mean, this is a fun, big discussion. I'm looking forward to this so much next week. I've been looking forward to it. You talk about some of the folks I know putting it on their calendar long in advance, so just so they make sure that they're there. I'm very excited. Let's change gears for a moment around some of the other madness that I personally see very regularly with the small, medium-sized businesses I deal with, and that you have been dealing with as of late. I always say, aside from making money and growing their revenues year over year, business owners typically have three huge things on their mind at all times: business operating expenses, taxes, and health insurance. So a lot of the work I do is around health insurance with the folks at Engage PEO and Fusion Employer Services where I work. But the prescriptions that are involved with the medicines that people are getting these days, it's like a whole industry within the industry at this point. And this, is where, I wanted to kind of get some of the stories from you of how you've started doing the work with Premier RX and your Direct RX, and what kind of indirect, no pun intended there, effect that might have in saving a business owner money where they might be able to deploy it for their marketing budget or for donations to charitable organizations you work with. Talk to us a little bit about what you're doing in the world of Premier RX and your Direct RX.
Sure, absolutely. And I knew nothing of this space a few months back. So this was an area that I knew a little bit about, but really didn't have any kind of breadth of knowledge on it. And what attracted to me to this opportunity is, again, my day is spent talking to small, medium, large business owners of all sizes, trying to figure out where they're at, where they're trying to go. Then how can I kind of bring value to that relationship with some of the sports properties that I have access to? So I'm looking at figuring out ways of, okay, let's craft a budget. Let's deploy the capital. We'll do this event, that event, what have you. We'll put that strategy in place. And then I had a chance to talk to the guys at Premier. And as they were explaining everything to me, and again, if you don't think that we overpay for drugs in America, I would love to have a conversation with you because that is mind-boggling to me. But I had a chance to kind of look at businesses and see what they were spending on their drug spend. And it is just ridiculous. I mean, it's a $500 billion industry. By 2030, it's going to be $750 billion. So this is where all the big boys play. And it was really an opportunity to, again, when I'm talking to business owners and saying, hey, let's deploy this capital to do this event, this event, this event. Now I can go to them and say, hey, listen, we're going to still put that plan together. Let me come in here. Let me show you a neat way to reduce your operating costs tremendously. So I was dealing with a company. They've got about 3,200 employees. They do all like the amenities for hotels. And I was talking to them, and the CFO happens to be a buddy of mine that I played football with in high school. And we ended up talking. He's with one of the big three. He's with Express Scripts from Cigna, and they're charging him roughly $130 to $180 per employee per month. Premier comes in and says, all right, we're going to lower that cost out the gate down to $59.95. So immediately you're seeing anywhere from a $70 to $120 savings per employee per month. So I went to my buddy and said, okay, listen, you've got 3,200 employees. You got about 1,500 of them are on your plan. I was like, I know I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree, but if I save you $70 per employee per month at $1,500, I mean, at 1,500 employees, that's going to save you north of $1 million per year.
Yep.
So then when we put together this plan and say, okay, it's going to take $25,000 to sponsor this golf outing, you now know where those funds are coming, and we're going to help you brand and build your business from that standpoint. But not only that, the other aspect is, again, because I think industry averages are about like 35 to 40% of employees will use the employer's healthcare. But that leaves 60 to 65% that are not using it, which is where Your Direct RX comes into play. So we ended up offering a voluntary benefit program on top of their regular program. So that way they could go out to their other 1,800 employees and say, hey, listen, I know you didn't have any coverage with us before. We now have this voluntary thing. At least you can get your prescriptions covered and lower your drug spend.
And this is comparable, commensurate to things like Good RX, which I feel like most folks have seen at this point, the little cards near the cash registers and the pharmacies and all that. So, just talk a little bit about the differentiation of what you've been working with versus some of what's out there and why people should look at it.
Sure. Yeah. To me, the biggest thing is that we have a full-fledged PBM, pharmacy benefit manager, behind us. So whereas if you look at these different programs, they may be able to help you out in one aspect or another aspect of it, but I haven't found anything that's completely comprehensive to lower your monthly spend on your $130 to $180 fee that they're charging you. The big three are charging you down to $59.95. But then once you factor in the teledoc, so you can have speak to a live doctor in under 10 minutes. And they can kind of write any prescriptions or anything that you would need. So it's going to save a business owner a ton of money. So it does two things, right? So giving your employees immediate healthcare and medical attention is going to speed up the productivity. It's going to get them back to work quicker and what have you. But for a business owner, one of your biggest costs that you pay is your ER and urgent care costs that you spend. By having this program, and we had one association, they had about 1,500 members. They said they lowered their ER cost by $500,000 in the first year. That's real money.
Very, very material. And I know there's been a lot of folks who've gotten into this industry since it really started heating up a few years back. But again, this is a situation where you really want to surround yourselves with the right people executing the right process, not somebody who's just in it to make a quick buck, because there are definitely folks who are looking at this business as almost like the magic wand, the magic bullet, the get rich quick scheme, if you will. And there's a lot of method behind the madness with this type of discussion. And there's a lot of money that can be saved. That should be the other M: method, madness, message, and money. But yeah, there's a lot here, a lot to unpack.
And that was the biggest question that I had asked. I said, okay, help me understand this. How are we taking something that costs $130 to $180 per employee per month and lowering that down to $59.95? So where is that $70 say, where is that money going? Is it kind of like shuffling the cards? How is the client getting screwed? And like I said, the group that I'm working with said, listen, we've been doing this for 30 plus years. We'll tell you two things. Number one, the cost of the drugs hasn't increased since 2001. Yet the industry has doubled since 2010. And like I said, it's going to be $750 billion by 2030.
Yep.
There are 30 people at every company trying to figure out how they can increase their profits for their shareholders.
Yep.
Cost of the drugs hasn't changed, but the cost of these programs has tenfold dramatically.
Astronomical. Yep.
They're just getting fat and happy. So this company said, hey, we're going to make a lot of money by showing business owners how to save money. So we're about people, not prescriptions.
So I can't tell you how often I run into other service provider folks out in the circuit that claim to save business owners time and money, and myself included. A lot of times my discussions with business owners are about saving them time and money, but the bigger part is being part of their future growth strategy to me, to be an actual partner of theirs, right? And that's the position that I work in these days full time. Like, that's such a big differentiator compared to some other things I've done along the way. Is I love to be part of their future growth strategy. I'm incentivized to be, and I love being consulted for things like that. It's not enough to just save somebody time and money. A lot of times you'll end up commoditizing yourself and your own business model if that's all you're focused on. A lot of times people are just trying to prove that they're saving some type of money where the client prospect in question hasn't even voiced some type of objection to costs. They're just trying to figure out how to best take care of everybody.
100, and that you hit the nail on the head. It's really kind of make sure you're listening to the people, kind of figuring out what they need, what they don't need. And again, at the end of the day, to me, my mantra has always been, if I'm not making your life better, I'm just wasting your time. So if you come and sit down with me, we kind of talk about where you're at, where you're trying to go. if I can't help put those pieces in the puzzle together, I'm going to show you where to go to get them done.
Yep, and that's very similar to my mantra. I want to leave the SMBs that I've dealt with better than when I found them. That's it.
Right.
We're going to take a quick break, everybody. We will be right back with Chris Orlando, strategic consultant, sports enthusiast, and change catalyst. Stay with us, everybody.
What really drives success in business? Introducing Intangify, the show that explores the intangible assets that create value and growth. I'm Matthew Asbell, your host and an attorney focused on innovation. Join me Fridays at noon Eastern to discover how innovation, culture, and other intangibles shape thriving companies from startups to established businesses. We'll share strategies to unleash your business's true potential. Tune in live on talkradio.nyc Fridays at noon Eastern and Intangify your business today.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to Always Friday with me, Stephen Fry, your SMB guy. Not just me. We are hanging with Chris Orlando, strategic consultant, sports enthusiast, and change catalyst. Chris, great discussion today. This is the message part of the show. This is where we want to leave everybody with that weekend insight to make a Monday impact, sound bites that we want to help people remember over the weekend. As I said, this is going to be a jam-packed weekend with softball for me, so there might be some light cocktails involved at some point, so I just want to make sure there'll definitely be some cocktails at my mother-in-law's 70th birthday dinner tonight, I can tell you that. But we want people to really remember after they've enjoyed their cocktails and their freedom from work and their football over the weekend that they can really put something into action on Monday. And just to really bring up something that we've kind of been saying from the beginning about the team, right? Because it's never just one person, especially when you're talking about an SMB. I saw this from the Athlogic site, right? Where it talks about meet our team. You know, we're a group of all these different folks, like these fans, former players, and stat guys who are changing the game. And the idea of being a change catalyst the way that you are, it's not always easy. A lot of people are very, very resistant to change. And, you know, again, it's out of their comfort zone, and life begins at the end of your comfort zone. The growth that a business is or an individual is looking for begins at the end of their comfort zone. So, you know, a lot of times that's something big that I have to overcome, that you have to overcome. And, you know, talking from the last segment where we were kind of getting to a whole bunch of different spots where our madness and our stories from the field kind of collide and we hear some of the same stories. You know, it really resonates where it's somebody who's focused only on themselves and I, me philosophy versus the we team type of philosophy. But that's just a couple of ramblings from me. Let's hear from you. What kind of weekend insight can we give everyone to make a Monday impact?
I would think the biggest thing that you need to do is really sit down this weekend and figure out what is your point B? What is your end goal that you are trying to accomplish? Once you have that figured out, then work backwards. And like I said, figure out what moves would you have to make in order to get there. And like I said, spend a lot of time kind of thinking about this and then say, okay, now that I've worked backwards and figure out what do I have to do? What moves do I need to make? Then look at your team that you have around you and figure out, okay, who can help me get there the most efficient, the best way of doing it? Or who am I going to, if I put this person on this project, is going to take away from that project. How am I utilizing my team to the best of the ability? So I was a quarterback. I was not a running quarterback. I was a throwing quarterback. So if they put me in an option, it wasn't going to turn out well. So again, you need to make sure you have the right teammates, the right players in the right position to figure out where you're trying to go. So I would say that's the biggest thing. Figure out what your point B is, work backwards to figure out what you have to do in order to get there, and then make sure you've got the right players in place to get it done.
You know, this concept comes up so much in daily travels, and even just thinking about the buzzwords that you hear about being a business owner, especially a small, medium-sized business owner, is a lot of times business owners feel like they're having a hard time working on their business because they're stuck working in their business. And they don't understand a lot of times that's a very much a mindset thing, that you got to start with the right mindset. Just because you've had the same employees for the last 20 years, if you have to kind of hover over them and tell them when to put one foot in front of the other, not to say, not to belittle anybody out there like that, but that's a lot of times what leads to a business owner working in their business on the daily tasks as opposed to on their business with a sense of growth and higher thought and expansion and scalability. It's tough to look at sometimes when you can see it black and white.
100%. I mean, you can't see the forest through the trees, right? So if you got the ability of getting out and kind of looking at it from a different perspective, it really will kind of open you up. And again, if you've been doing the same thing for 20 years, the question I always get when someone comes to me and like, oh no, everything's great, I don't need to make any changes. Why did you come to me? If you again, the people that I've met that are extremely successful and understand what their point B is and they're working towards that, they usually don't have time to reach out to people like me because they're already doing it. So if you're reaching out to me, that means you've got some issue that's not kosher for it. You want to make some sort of change. You just don't know how to go about doing it. So again, if you know where you're at and where you're trying to go, again, it's put the building blocks in place to help you get there.
There's also a sentiment of the closer you are to something, the harder it can be to explain it to everybody else. And even though a lot of these business owners that are very self-absorbed and me, it's all about me, they have to understand that very often when they're trying to make some of these changes, no matter how self-absorbed they are, they're almost always better served when there's an impartial opinion from somebody who, comes in from the outside, consults with them and hears what they have to say and how they're saying it, and then can kind of guide them, advise them accordingly, so that it's not somebody with preconceived notions about this is how things have been done for 20, 30 years. And this is what my clients and customers are looking for, when they might not be seeing the forest through the trees, like you said.
100%. And again, it's one of those scenarios where I've been hearing it for years. Like I said, I've been involved in creating university sports over in India for the last almost 15 years. And it's too many times, if you think of why companies have focus groups, right? Because you're saying the same message over and over and over again. You bring in a focus group that's never heard it, you'll get their honest reaction. Because again, I've told the Athlogic story a bazillion times. But then when I kind of take a step back and say, okay, we're going to create a sports analytics club for the high school. So we're going to have an impact of kids on and off the field and bring your school together. Again, it's why are we doing this? What's the end goal that we're trying to accomplish, and get out of all the minutia.
If you have questions on Athlogic, team@athlogic.com is where you can reach out to Chris and the rest of the folks at Athlogic. Chris, I have your personal cell phone number. I have your email address at Columbia University. Give everybody the best way to get in contact with you, man. They want to connect with you. You want to connect with them. Lay it on them.
Yeah, 100%. Cell phone is 310-569-5484. So 310-569-5484. And then the email is Columbia. So co2450@columbia.edu. So co2450@columbia.edu.
Chris, awesome to have you on the show today. Been looking forward to it for a long time. Before I let you go, we do have to revisit the answers to my favorite questions. Who's your favorite movie or TV show character? What's your favorite movie or TV show? And what's your favorite musical instrument? And who's the artist you'd like to hear play it? So let's get right in, shall we? You seem to be a big Adam Sandler fan. I am as well. So I asked you to give me your top 2 Adam Sandler characters. I was totally expecting to hear Waterboy with all of your football travels, but can't mess with Happy Gilmore. Totally crucial character to play. Anytime I play golf, I feel like I see somebody imitating Happy Gilmore, however many years later, and I'm sure that will be happening on Thursday, October 12th, at the NFL Alumni Association as well. But
yeah, I was going to say, when you see me golf on Thursday, you'll understand exactly why Happy Gilmore is my favorite character. Bobby Boucher, I'm not a fan of him. I'm not a hater on him. You got to love Bobby Boucher. Anytime Adam Sandler comes on, I know the next 2 hours of my life are going to be lost. So yeah, definitely Happy Gilmore would be the way to go. And then I said the second one, because I've got like a 12-year-old schoolgirl in me, and I've got my missus is very much animation, all that's action stuff. Give me a little rom-com. I'm going to have a good day. So you give me 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. Again, another 2 hours wasted.
I love this answer because, I'll save you guys that haven't seen the movie. No spoiler alerts, really, but he basically needs to get Drew Barrymore to fall in love with him every single day. And that's like when you're acting as a strategic consultant and you're trying to help SMB leaders and their trusted advisors and their employees. That could very often be what it feels like is, wait, didn't we talk about yesterday how much you love me? And today you almost forgot. So I got to remind you why you love me again. It's a crazy analogy, but it's very apropos for what we're talking about here. So I love it. You said your favorite TV shows. You gave me Suits, which has been a popular answer as of late. I haven't gotten into this one yet, but I heard a lot of rave reviews about it. What was it, like a guy that was dealing with drugs and everything gets busted, and he's working with a high-powered attorney to get him off the hook?
Not so much so. I mean, he was a drug dealer and was avoiding the cops, and he stumbled into kids getting interviews for this high-powered lawyer. And the high-powered lawyer was like, don't give me these normal yahoos. Give me someone that impresses you. And when he ran in, they're like, oh, you're late for your appointment. He's like, yeah, I don't care about my appointment. I'm just trying not to get caught by the cops. And she was like, okay, that's something different. Let's send him on in. And then they kind of go through what the story is. But no, definitely good one. And I know you got Ballers up there as well, which anything that The Rock is in, that dude is crazy talented and knows, again, how to kind of put those pieces of the puzzle together. So
I figured Ballers would be in there. I got to admit, I kind of was looking for a little more Al Bundy and Polk High with Married with Children, but I'll let it slide. I know that it's on your mind. I know you get the references. You said that your favorite guitarist that you didn't have a chance to see but wish you would have, I echo that sentiment, is Jimi Hendrix, the fucking master. I can't say enough about how excited his music gets me, especially these days. It used to get me excited. It gets me more excited these days. Gets me fired up, especially when I hear fire. So Jimi Hendrix, would have loved to have seen him. Echo the sentiment. Once again, Chris, great to have you on the show today.
No worries, but yeah, I just saw John Mayer. So if you think of Jimi Hendrix, John Mayer can get down on it as well. So
yes, he can. Seen him a whole bunch of times. Love it. Coming up next week, we are going to speak with my buddy Chris Pepe, who is CEO of the new organization Loan Geek. He does simple financing for real estate transactions. Pretty simple discussion, but not the most simple topic these days. A lot of ways to navigate the real estate world, as you can see. In the meantime, thank you for joining us on Always Friday. We hope you gained some weekend insight to realize a Monday impact. Have a great weekend. We will see you Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time next week, right here on talkradio.nyc. Godspeed. Have a great weekend, everyone.